Hi, I'm Will Harley,
Hi, I'm Cole Harley.
and I am here to interview him about what it's like being deaf, especially in regards to the school system. So, Cole, tell us what makes you you.
Um, I feel like I'm a individual that is willing to try anything, and I don't really care about what other people say, and I'm not worried about what they say, and I just feel like that's a good trait to have in real
Yeah.
life.
I would agree with you. If there was one thing you could tell teachers about being a student with hearing loss, what would you tell them?
I would say that having a cochlear implant doesn't fix everything. It's just a tool to help you hear. You're still a deaf person, and teachers seem to think you're doing so well in school, and they think you don't need your combinations. But the reason I'm doing well is because I'm using my combinations to my advantage to help me succeed in school.
Yeah, it's very true. What would you tell other kids about people with hearing loss?
I would just say be more mindful and just be patient with them, and I would just sometimes you have to repeat things more than once to them, and because sometimes they won't hear it the first time.
Right. All right. What has been the most challenging aspect of being a student with hearing loss?
Definitely the workload, because throughout the day you just get really tired just listening to the teachers, and that makes you exhausted. And then it takes me longer to study for tests and quizzes than I guess you would say normal kids. It's just like a processing issue, and it just takes extra time to do it, so you have to work really hard.
Yeah. That would you, like do you just really whenever you're listening, are you really having to focus on what they're saying? Like, are you having to like?
I have to keep my eyes on them all the time.
Yeah, 'cause you've gotten really good at reading lips too.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
Takes practice.
it does. All right. So, if you were asked to meet with the President of the United States to represent all of the students in the country with cochlear implants, what would you tell him, and what would you ask him to change?
I would say there needs to be more early intervention options for the deaf children and their parents, and there needs, instead of putting that aid with the student and just expecting them to do all the work for you, they need to start offering programs such as CART and similar to that, and that would help them way more in school than the aid would.
So, what is CART?
It is a program where there is a captioner in the actual room with the teacher and all the students, and they will type everything the teacher says. And that can be very helpful, especially if you want to review the material later when you're at home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you miss something in class, that will be helpful too.
Makes sense. Well, very cool. So, now, do you see deaf as a disability, and why or why not?
I don't see it as a disability. I look at it as you're definitely able, and you just have to do things in a different way than normal kids do, and I feel like that's okay.
So, could you think of anything off the top of your head that specifically you have to do differently than a normal kid or a normal student? So, like, all right, so like we talked about earlier, you have to really focus on what they're saying. And
Yeah.
like, when you go to study, like, do you do you have to read things a few times, usually? What it takes a second for it to click?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that too. And while
I think the biggest thing is the processing issue, really.
yeah, just like really processing what you're reading and what
And
you're
being
listening to.
focused too.
I remember when I was like, 6 years old, and you were 2, that you had an implant that went from your head and wired down to a battery pack that was like this big around your belt. Do you remember the company that made it?
It was Advanced Bionics.
Right. And I remember that I remember when you were little, I don't know if you remember this, but you used to have a lot of trouble where it would fall off and stuff when you were running and all that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was very irritating.
And so, all right, and you had that throughout really up until 2009, right? Is that when it was?
That was before the second implant. That was before I had my second surgery and see that implant failed.
Okay, right, yeah.
So I had to go back into surgery, and instead of going back to Advanced Bionics, I decided to go with cochlear, and that's been great ever since.
So like, I remember Mom was telling me something about that when you had the Advanced Bionics implant. She said that she said your reading level when she pulled you out of school was what, on a 4-year-old?
It was on a 4-year-old level, and I was in the 4th grade.
Yeah, you were 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so then Mom decided to pull you out of school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Homeschool then. Because, well, that you just weren't getting what you needed in public school at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you said, 2009, I guess, how old were you then? I was 16.
So I would have been 12.
Yeah, you would have been 12. You got your second implant, and it was with cochlear, right? And it was the one where it was like right here at your ear, everything was right there. You didn't have the long thing at the bottom. So, do you remember anything about that surgery? Other than I know you remember Chapel Hill because you love Chapel Hill. But
I don't remember anything about surgery. The surgery was like very easy. It was probably the easiest surgery I ever had. And the only thing I remember was I couldn't hear for like a whole week after because it had to heal.
and you had the little cup taped to the side of your head.
Yeah, I looked like a crazy person. Yeah, I couldn't hear for a whole week, and then we went to the audiologist back at Chapel Hill,
Yeah.
and they cut it on, and it sounded very weird at first. It was like alien voices. That's what it reminded me. And then I noticed when we came back home, I started hearing things that I never heard before. Like I heard like the ice maker from the refrigerator, and then heard birds, chirping.
I didn't know that. You never heard birds before?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I mean, just little things like that, but it was pretty cool. That definitely changed.
Yeah.
A lot.
You got your second implant. Okay. And now you are on what reading level?
I was caught up.
Yeah, by like 9th grade, right?
Yeah. Well, no, by 8th grade. I was caught up.
When you're homeschooled, right?
Yeah. And then that's when I decided to go back to public high school.
Right. And then now you've, as we had talked about before, having to fight to get what you needed at school and all that, and now you're going to Clemson to do what? What's your major?
Landscape architecture.
You're going to be spending a lot of nights in Lee Hall
Yeah.
building
It'll be fun.
things. It will be. But okay, we'll redo that.
Pretty much everything.
Well,
People sounded like aliens, but at first, but I got used to it.
so now I
And then-
sound like an alien right now.
No, you don't.
It's advanced bionics, I know.
Oh, and that's fine. I never started with the apple. Okay, let's redo that.
Should we redo that? Yeah, probably.